Now assume that we have all the required hardware in place. Only thing that is remaining is how are you going to give the input signals or the control signals to all the hardware to perform the actions required. So in order to understand that, we should understand what are the things that has to happen in order to execute an instruction. So in order to come to that, we use a term which is called instruction cycle. So this is important. Instruction cycle. So what is instruction cycle is, right from the time you fetch the instruction till the time you say that instruction execution is over, whatever happens, that thing is called as instruction cycle. The name cycle is brought into picture because it happens over and again. Generally, if something happens over and again, we call it as cycle, right? So what happens is, instruction 1 will be fetched and executed, and it doesn't mean that everything is over. We again start with instruction 2, then instruction 3, then instruction 4. Since the same thing is going to happen again and again, we call it as a cycle, right? And then we divide this instruction cycle into various phases, and the number of phases, they vary from computer to computer. Here in our case, we are assuming a smallest possible computer with very restricted functionality. Therefore, let's assume even the instruction cycle also to contain as minimal number of phases as possible. Later, when we solve the questions in pipelining, it will be somewhat complex, right? But then once you understand this, that topic will be easy. So try to understand this one. Now in order to execute or complete one instruction, we have to go through certain phases. The first phase in instruction cycle is called as fetch. So what we do in this phase is, we get the instruction from the memory into our register, right? So for this instruction, for this phase, we need to allocate some cycles, right? And we are going to allocate few cycles to that. And after fetching is over, we have to understand what that instruction is. Depending on what type of instruction it is, we have to take certain actions, right? Therefore, that one is called as decode. Decoding the instruction, right? And after that, in our basic computer, in the computer that we are going to design, we initially assume that we have only two types of addressing modes. One is direct and the other one is indirect. In case of direct address, we don't do anything, because in case of direct address, effective address is equal to the address part of the operand. We need not do anything to get the effective address. But in case of indirect address, we have to compute the effective address by going to the memory and fetching that address which is present in the address given in instruction. So what I mean to say is, in case of direct address, see this. Assume that this is the opcode, okay, and assume that the first bit here is 0. If the first bit is 0, it means they are using the direct addressing mode. So in case of direct addressing mode, whatever number is present here, if 100 is present, then you can directly go to the main memory to the address 100, and whatever is present here, this is the operand itself. Therefore, effective address is equal to 100 itself. Got it? So in case of direct addressing, the effective address is nothing but the address part of the operation, right? And in case of indirect addressing, how do you know that? First bit will be 1 and there will be some opcode, and whatever is given here is not actually effective address. Let us say it is containing 100, right? In this case, you have to go to the memory and then get whatever is present there, and this is the address where the operand is present, which means operand will be present at address 200, right? So in this case, this is not the effective address, this is the effective address. Got it? So computing the effective address of the operand depends on what type of addressing mode it is. In our case, we are using two addressing modes. One is direct and other is indirect. Got it? Therefore, depending on what it is, we have to compute effective address. So in this case we have two cases. One case is if it is direct, then nothing is required, right? In case if it is indirect, then what should we do? We have to access the memory, right? Access the memory to get the effective address. Therefore this phase is actually not required in case of direct addressing mode, but this case is required because you have to access the memory and get the effective address. Got it? Now how do you know which one it is? Depending on the first bit. Okay, and then finally we are going to execute the instruction, right? So every instruction has to go through these 4 phases. So we always start from T0 and then allocate a certain number of clocks to each phase depending on what type of instruction it is, and by the end assume that we have reached T7. So from T0 we started and assume that by T7 we have finished the execution. Then what we do is at the end, after execution is over, we trigger the clear input of the sequence counter, which means from T7 it will go back to T0 and again this cycle will repeat. Got it? Whenever it is T0, this cycle will repeat, right? Now let's see how to execute the fetch.
Hi, if you are planning to do masters, then doing masters abroad is better than doing masters in India. I'll give you all the reasons. So first reason is, out of 1 lakh students who take GATE every year, there are only 500 seats in old IITs. So all the IITs put together have an acceptance rate of 0.5%, and IITs, universities better than IITs, they have very good acceptance rate like 30%, 40%, but all the IITs put together have an acceptance rate of 0.5%. And if you are working hard to get into IIT Bombay's ranking is 177 and IIT Roorkee's ranking is 400. If you are happy to get into IIT Roorkee, then getting into universities better than IIT Roorkee is easier compared to getting into IIT Roorkee. And looking at the salaries for computer science, for software jobs, if you have done your masters in computer science in US, the salaries are ranging from 80 lakhs per year to 1.2 crore per year. So even if you take an average of 1 crore per year, your savings will be much higher than the salaries in India. After taxes and your cost of living, you can easily save 40 to 50 lakhs per year. And in India, the maximum jobs that you get is around 30 lakhs. So your savings will be much greater than the salaries in India. And these are all the services that we provide. University shortlisting. So depending on your profile, we will shortlist what are the universities that you have to apply, and statement of purpose building, and then LOR guidance, and GRE and English test assistance, and education loan assistance. So you don't have to have any collateral, which means without any security, now you can get education loan. Getting education loan is very simple these days, and whatever the amount of fee that you have a range of universities. You can apply for 10 lakh universities, 20 lakh universities or 50 lakh universities, but whatever it is, you are going to get complete education loan, and you can pay off your education loan in 1 year after you get a job. And then we do visa assistance, mock visa interviews, and then connecting with the university alumni. So now you might ask why we should join Game of Visas. So the answer is we have 90% success rate, 99% success rate. And these are all the destinations that we guide the students to. So we guide students to any country that you want to go. So now it is not just USA. We guide to UK, Germany, Australia, Canada. So we guide students to all the countries. We work with all the destinations. And if you are interested in going abroad, you have to just drop us a message on this WhatsApp number 9494 555 454. Okay, thank you.